Hello guys, I'm Dr. Sumukh. Hope you guys are in a mood to learn today because we are going to discuss about anaphylaxis and anaphylactic shock. So without further ado, let's get to it. To begin with, what is anaphylaxis? Anaphylaxis comes in the type 1 hypersensitivity reactions. That is, it is an IgE mediated release of inflammatory mediators such as histamine, tryptase, etc. from the mast cells and basophils, leading to an acute multi-organ dysfunction syndrome. A similar reaction which does not involve IgE is called anaphylactoid reaction. They are clinically similar or indistinguishable. Now let's talk about what are the substances that trigger this reaction. Foods like nuts, eggs, shellfish, certain varieties of fish, cow's milk, etc. Antibiotics. Penicillin is the famous one. Certain vaccines, insect bites like bee venom, blood and blood products, insulin and its products, snake bites, and latex allergy, allergic immunotherapy. Now let's talk about clinical features. The symptoms typically occur within minutes of exposure to the triggering substance. It can also occur up to 1 hour from the moment the patient has been exposed to the substance. Initially, they present with flushing, pruritus, and a sense of doom. That is, all the veins are dilated in the skin, right? They feel flustered and they have a sense of doom. But let's go more in detail and go system wise with each system how they present with. First, the eyes. They present with pruritus, that is itching, lacrimation or tearing, conjunctival erythema, that is redness of the eyes, and periorbital edema, that is swelling around the eyes. Skin. They present with pruritus, flushing, urticaria, and angioedema, that is the vessels they become leaky and all the fluid goes into the tissue. The cardiovascular system, in that they present with hypotension, tachycardia, and when it becomes severe they present with bradycardia. They can have various arrhythmias. They can go into cardiac arrest. Patients who are on beta blockers, they can have paradoxical hypertension. This cardiovascular collapse or shock, this occurs in up to 30% of patients who develop anaphylaxis. This occurs because of various reasons. Firstly, hypovolemia caused by all the fluid going out from the vessels because of increased vascular permeability into the tissues, right? Then hypotension because of peripheral vasodilatation. Then there is also myocardial depression that again contributes to this. Fourthly, bradycardia. So these are the factors that contribute to the development of shock in anaphylaxis. The respiratory system. Up to 50% of patients can develop respiratory symptoms, and this can progress to respiratory failure because of upper airway edema, bronchospasm, and cardiogenic and non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, etc. Coming to the symptoms, they can come with dyspnea, that is difficulty breathing, stridor, or hoarseness of voice. This could be because of edema of the larynx, and wheezing because of bronchospasm. They can come with difficulty swallowing and pulmonary edema. Gastrointestinal, They present with nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain. Neurologic symptom, they present with anxiety, a sense of doom. They can go into presyncope or syncope, seizures. There can be a biphasic reaction with the second round of symptoms coming 1 to 8 hours after the first one, but it can come as late as 72 hours as well. The diagnosis is clinical. So, when they present with these symptoms, you'll have to elicit the history of exposure to a particular trigger. But in up to 60% of patients, you might not find any such triggers. The lab reports, such as serum level of tryptase, which is elevated for up to 1 to 6 hours after the trigger, and serum histamine, whose level starts falling within 30 to 60 minutes. When present, support this diagnosis of anaphylactic reaction. An alternative would be 24-hour urine measurement of methyl histamine, and then at a later time you can again calculate it for a baseline. The differentials could be urticaria, status asthmaticus, Redmond syndrome caused by vancomycin, then something called scromboidosis, which is caused by histamine-like substance that is present in spoiled fish of the tuna or mackerel, mahi-mahi, etc. These sort of varieties. These hormone-releasing tumors like carcinoid syndrome, pheochromocytoma, mastocytosis, panic attacks, etc. So this brings us to the treatment of anaphylactic reaction. The treatment is based on recommendations from American Academy of Asthma, Allergy and Immunology, as well as American College of Asthma, Allergy and Immunology. The treatment basically consists of epinephrine for reversing the respiratory and the cardiovascular effects, and histamine 1 and histamine 2 blockers for blocking the effects of histamine. Steroids have no role in the acute symptom management, but they can be helpful in blocking the phase 2 reactions that occur up to 72 hours after the exposure. So you can use 1 to 2 milligrams per kg methylprednisolone stat, and maybe up to 4 days you can continue it either IV or orally. So let's come to the algorithm. This immediate treatment for anaphylaxis is indicated in patients with significant respiratory, cardiac or gastrointestinal symptoms, because they can rapidly worsen to cardiovascular collapse, respiratory failure and death. Besides, there is really no absolute contraindication to the use of epinephrine. So when you come across this patient, if you see him having breathing difficulty, wheezing, stridor, etc., then you'll have to immediately intubate him, because the more you wait, the chances of airway edema causing more difficulty in intubation is higher. If it comes to difficult intubation, cricothyroidotomy may be indicated. Once you do this, then you can go ahead and look at other parameters as well. Whereas if the patient is respiratory wise comfortable, then you go ahead, secure wide bore IV cannula. Make sure you continuously monitor the blood pressure, the saturation, the respiratory rate. Medication wise, you should give epinephrine in the dose of 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams intramuscularly. The lateral thigh is the preferred location, and this dose can be repeated every 5 minutes until you see a clinical response. In case you find that the symptoms are very severe or the patient is not responding to the intramuscular dose, then you can give intravenous dose of zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 milligrams IV boluses every 1 to 2 minutes until you get the desired clinical response. Hypotension is to be treated with fluid bolus of 1 to 2 liters NS. Now suppose the patient is on beta blockers, then it blocks the effects of epinephrine. Or if the patient is not responding to the boluses of epinephrine, then you can give glucagon every 5 minutes. Glucagon acts by antagonizing the beta blocking effect of the beta blockers. Despite all this, if there is still continued hypotension, then you can start an epinephrine infusion in a dose of 5 to 10 micrograms per minute, and you can titrate it to the required BP. That is one thing. Secondly, you'll have to continue the aggressive fluid management. If the patient still has respiratory symptoms and is not yet intubated, then you can try beta agonists like albuterol in the dose of, for example, 0.5 cc of 0.5% plus 2.5 ml of normal saline, and then you can repeat this nebulization every 15 minutes. So besides epinephrine and controlling the BP, you have to also block the action of histamine. So H1 blocker diphenhydramine 25 to 50 milligrams IV, and ranitidine, which is an H2 blocker of 50 milligrams IV, should also be given. That's all for today, guys. Have a nice day.